Across Africa, and particularly here in Nigeria, the youth make up the majority of the population. They are innovative, ambitious, and eager to build their futures. But when it comes to finance, many young people face challenges, whether it's access to affordable funding, limited savings options, or a lack of financial literacy. Hello and welcome to Islamic Finance Weekly. I am Rahma Say Muhammad. Today we'll be discussing non-interest finance as a pivot for youth empowerment with none other than Abdulazeez Oguntoyibo, the Chief Executive Officer of Halalvest. Thank you, Abdulazeez. Welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for doing this with us. So let's delve right into our conversation of the day with us, which is, non-interest finance as a pivot for youth empowerment. So we'll talk about youth unemployment and underemployment, which remains a major challenge in Nigeria. How can young entrepreneurs and SMEs leverage Islamic finance models for easy access to capital and growth?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the topic is a timely and relevant topic, especially in Nigeria, where financial inclusion and youth unemployment are major concerns, right? Youth unemployment is a growing global challenge, not only in Nigeria, you're right. You could see, looking at the case study we have here in Nigeria, many traditional financial systems often exclude young people, young entrepreneurs, due to lack of collateral, credit history or religious belief, right? As it may be in different locations, particularly looking at the financially excluded, rate. Majority of the excluded adults that don't have access to financial products, and services are from the north, and some of them are due to religious belief, right? So non-interest finance, basically the ethical finance, offers a value-driven, inclusive, alternative, approach that majorly emphasizes on equity, risk sharing, and asset backing. So it's really a strategic tool to empower youth economically and socially. And understanding the non-interest finance, it's really something we need to really appreciate. It's a system of finance that prohibits interest and is based on ethical principles such as risk sharing, transparency, and social justice. Some of these key instruments that is being used to drive this concept, this financial tool is you have the Mudoraba, which is like the profit sharing partnership. This is very, very influential in scaling youth empowerment, youth development. You also have the Musharaka, which is like a joint ventures partnership. You look at this, youth can leverage this option, that are willing to start a small business to scale without having to, take the risk of going to borrow, interest-based loans. That it might really not scale the business. It might kill the business as a startup. And you have a lot of, use cases and example where we have in Nigeria that has really validated a lot of businesses. Looking at us at Halalvest, we've benefited a lot thanks to the Nigerian government. At the early stage, we were really given that opportunity. I think in 2020, 2021, we were part of the startups that was showcased at the GITEX global event in Dubai. This was thanks to the NITSA, National Information Technology Development Agency. Another tool which I believe the non-interest finance leverages is the Murabaha, the cost-plus financing. You look at this tool, you want to get asset for your business, you want to get equipment, you want to get some gadgets. You're looking at other patterns of the conventional financial systems, which could limit your growth. Murabaha provides a very scalable model, where you are able to leverage this opportunity with the different non-interest financial institutions.
Right.
As a young young startup that is willing to scale, so you are able to leverage this opportunity to grow your business, unlike the conventional options. You have the Ijara, you have the Sukuk. Look at how the Sukuk has been oversubscribed. Looking at the different series, and at different intervals. It has always been oversubscribed. This is to let you know that we have a lot of people, we have a lot of potential stakeholders in the ecosystem that know that this non-interest financial tools, products is really going to really scale not only youth empowerment, but also the economy itself is really going to scale it. So these are some of the tools. And the ethical foundations is to promote financial inclusion, is to encourage entrepreneurship, and also support the real economic transactions.
Thank you so much, Abdulazeez, for buttressing that point. Let's talk about students and early professionals who often find it difficult to save or invest. What role can non-interest finance play in encouraging ethical savings and responsible investment habits amongst the young people?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's really important to understand the importance of financial literacy, right? There needs to be a lot of education, not only for the youth, across all cadres, of life. We need to know the value to get. People need to understand the potential of non-interest finance.
Right.
Some people even think it's even a charity-based system where because you don't charge interest, how do you make money? So there's a lot of gap in terms of the non-interest financial, education, non-interest, financial literacy. It's really, really very important. So we need to look at how to come up with different programs across different, partners, schools, universities, tertiary institutions to educate. We can even co-create, a lot of innovative programs where, our students can understand, can value the potential options non-interest finance is bringing to them. Many students today also want to, earn fast. You want to make money quickly. And look at what the CBEX saga, the different other Ponzi schemes, what has given, what has led to. So it's also start from discipline, how you can understand that okay, these Sharia compliant investment options, the potential it has, for everybody is very, very, massive in terms of the benefits. And you need to also be concerned about, it's not about the high profit or the high interest, from other conventional systems. You also look at what, instrument is being used. You need to also understand the ethical, they need to understand, appreciate the ethical values, the social justice that is also binding the non-interest finance. So once this financial literacy, this education is well, circulated across different models, leveraging different collaboration, I think is also going to enhance, inclusion for the students and youth.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So let's talk about, young people being digitally inclined. I mean, in this, century, how everything is now digitized. How can Islamic fintech innovations make non-interest finance more accessible and appealing to the young demography?
The market is still very young, and there's still a lot of, emerging trend to bring in Islamic fintech innovation. So it's not that, unlike the conventional, fintechs that we know them, we don't need to mention names, right? So the opportunities Islamic, fintechs startups needs to bring is how do you marry the value, these people are getting, right, from the conventional financial system, right? How do you also bring down an alternative to people? Find is the innovation itself, right? So we have a few of the Islamic fintech startups that are doing great, that are at least they've started something. And one thing is that the Islamic fintech can also only survive with the existence of the Islamic financial institutions, the non-interest, banks, the non-interest, microfinance banks, non-interest investment companies, non-interest insurance companies. There need to be a strong collaboration. If there is a strong collaboration, I believe it's also going to drive, the Islamic fintech, innovation. for it.
Right.
The technology needs to be very, very simple to use, not too complex. We need to also be concerned around, the KYC, which is also a very, very key requirement by regulators to also sanitize the cyber crime, insurgent and the emergence of a lot of fraud, cyber fraud, right? So this is also a concern that Islamic fintech, startups needs to put into consideration. Not even only within the young people, looking at different communities, how do we drive, inclusion? How do we
Right.
drive inclusion across both, people, able, persons and people with disabilities? This is also an opportunity that we need to also, include.
Thank you so much for that. A lot of young Nigerians still don't fully understand what non-interest finance is. I mean, you even mentioned it earlier. So what strategies do you think are most effective in raising awareness and improving financial literacy amongst the youth?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important. One is collaboration. Collaboration is very, very key. Collaboration across the different stakeholders. You have the government, you have development institutions, you have the civil societies, you have the financial institutions, you have the religious and faith-based organizations. You need to have a lot of collaboration, come up with youth-specific products, to drive not only the financial literacy around, Islamic finance, non-interest finance. We also need to embed, how do we integrate this financial literacy into educational systems, especially around the non-interest finance? And I'm happy the University of Lagos with the collaboration with, I think, the Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals, they came up with a program. I think it's within the school, a master's program for Islamic finance, and all those, these are some of the examples across, several other institutions like, Bayero University. They're also doing well. They need to see how you can integrate to
Right.
drive this, not only education, to drive the literacy, sensitization. And there need to also be opportunities around, this is, a product that we have designed, and you have different use cases. For instance, you have the Nigeria's Jais Bank, how they are able to develop products targeted at youth and small businesses. That is even for Nigeria. And you have other countries, Indonesia, Sharia microfinance for youth, this which is government backed. The Malaysia's Islamic youth entrepreneurship programs, which they integrate Islamic finance with vocational and business training. So this is
Right.
something. We have the Zakat and Sadaqah, entrepreneurship development program, which they have been really supporting a lot of small scale, and youth-based businesses, innovations. And I think this needs to, come up with a lot of collaboration with different stakeholders. And I believe it's really going to go a long way. I give a simple example, and I mean, and this is also very, very important. We need to also introduce, how do we encourage skills development? How do we encourage, job creation and innovation? This is very, very important, right? By financing SMEs and startup, non-interest finance can indirectly create jobs. Recently, we benefited from a program called Young Africa Innovate. It's been organized by MasterCard Foundation and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, right? And it's run across, I think, 6 states. And they have supported a lot of youth-based young, businesses, right? Innovation, both tech-driven and basically different business. And one interesting thing that I value from the program is how they have been able to include a lot of, people, right, across different cadre, even people with disabilities that have a lot
Fantastic.
of ideas. The
Gotcha.
blind, they've been able to prove, right,
Yeah.
that, they're giving hope to the hopeless, they are giving voice to the voiceless,
Yeah.
to create innovation. In fact, you see some of these, innovation businesses, people with disabilities have been able to, embark on. I can tell you, they are really, really very, very impressive. So if this is actually non-interest inclined in the structure of the program,
Yeah.
right? So it is something that we can also imbibe across the non-interest financial institutions. we need to
Absolutely.
leverage collaboration. Both
Right.
local and international partners, we need to bring them to support, youth entrepreneurship, youth empowerment.
Absolutely, totally agreeable. Thank you for that, Abdulaziz. So, looking ahead, what potential do you see Islamic finance having in shaping a financially empowered youth population over the next decade?
Yeah, so non-interest finance is not just an alternative. It is a powerful catalyst for youth empowerment, especially, in Nigeria where the traditional system fails to deliver, right? So we need to see how we can promote inclusive, ethical, and value-driven financial systems, right? Where government, financial institutions, civil societies can unlock the potentials of millions of youth,
Yeah,
fueling sustainable economic growth and social development. And I believe the government is really coming up with a lot of initiatives, but we need to include a lot of collaboration with the private sector and other, development partners. There's a lot of potential the non-interest finance can bring to our, to improve not only the youth empowerment, but our economic at large. Looking at the different case studies, look at the Sukuk, how the Sukuk has been leveraged. It has been oversubscribed many times, and you can see the opportunity. So if you can leverage that growth, that pattern, introducing other, non-interest financial tool and instruments, I think,
yeah,
there is still a lot of potential we are able to derive from it to grow the economy at large in the country. Looking at the opportunities that we have, it's still at the emerging stage, right? It's still at the early stage, right? How many non-interest financial institutions do you have today, right?
yeah,
Across the different, financial sectors. You look
mm,
at it, right? So we
right,
need to see how we can come up with a lot of potential, innovation around non-interest financial, products and services. This can really, really drive, inclusion and also improve the economy at large.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Abdulaziz. That was a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for your generous inputs today.
Thank you very much for having me.
As Abdulaziz has rightly mentioned, non interest finance or Islamic finance or ethical finance isn't just an alternative, but a catalyst for growth. And how he has mentioned, non interest finance sector needs to tap beyond Sukuk, as seen from past development, how Sukuk gets over subscribed. You need to tap into other models that will benefit the public, benefit everybody. Well, with that, I say, don't forget to keep updated, subscribe on the program, follow us on all of our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Thank you for watching, and as always, I am Rahma Say Muhammad.